All right, Nick Bear here. So what are we looking at? We're looking at Unity's own rollerball tutorial. And so your first assignment, first major assignment, 100-point assignment, you have some small things before that. Basically just, uploading some thoughts on what your game is going to be at the end of the semester and beginning to collect some info on that. But the rollerball tutorial is a great one. The reason why it's a great one, Unity made it. Unity sort of takes it up and puts it down, but they're like a bunch of people downloaded their actual tutorial, re-uploaded it on YouTube. So there's a lot of versions of it out there. The reason why this is such an effective tutorial is it allows you to get the basics. And now what we're looking at right now is student versions of this tutorial. So what you look at originally was the actual rollerball tutorial, which is about 90 minutes. When you do that tutorial as a student in this class, you should do it with your laptop. That is, you should, do a video, do it. You can do the whole thing. And when it's a 90-minute thing and you have your laptop there going along with it, that'll probably bring it to a couple hours, 2.5 hours to do it. But you should do it along with the tutorial. And what's nice, if you do it and then check and it doesn't work, you can just rewind, 30 seconds and figure out what you missed and do it again. Then once you have their tutorial done, you're going to do what you're looking at now. And what you're looking at now is just change it up. So the reason why we want to change it up is to make sure you did it, that you just didn't find the rollerball tutorial, download it, and re-upload it, but that you actually did it. So what I'm asking for is that you first do the rollerball tutorial. The reason why we do that tutorial is you learn the Unity interface very quickly. Unity, about 50% of Unity is writing a lot of those scripts. And we're talking about little scripts. It's very much like Python programming, where you're writing little scripts. You're writing scripts typically in C#, but you're not doing a hardcore object-oriented C#. You're using C# sort of like you would use Python. You're writing little scripts and calling. You can also use JavaScript as well. But C# is more powerful because you can import everything from C#. Where with JavaScript, you're limited to JavaScript. And for example, if you wanted to do AI, well, people don't really write AI libraries in JavaScript, at least not good ones. But they do in C# and C++ and languages like that. So C# is a better language to use because it's simply a more powerful language. And the kind of C# you're doing is not deeply, object-oriented, abstract stuff. You're kind of writing little scripts in C#. In fact, if you use language models to help you, you can say, I want this, Unity function to do this, that, and the other thing, paste it into Claude or Gemini or whatever, and it'll write it for you. Then you put it in Unity and test it. And if there's a mistake, you show the language model your mistake. You'll, like language models always do, oh, I'm sorry, I should have done this and that and changed into it. So what you are going to do is this tutorial. And again, the reason why we use this tutorial is you learn very quickly sort of the basics of Unity. Most importantly, how you generally work with Unity. And that's writing a lot of those scripts. And so the reason why this tutorial is effective is in 2 hours, you can build a game like you're looking at now. Very simple game. But it's a game. It's just a very simple game. And you don't really have to learn shaders. You don't really have to learn animation. You don't really have to learn any of that. You focus on the basics of how sort of Unity works. And this is why this is a great tutorial, because it very quickly gets you understanding the interface and how you do things in Unity. So we do not recreate that tutorial because there's no need for it. We just give you a link, and there'll be a link in the description to a version of that tutorial. And this is a tutorial originally done by Unity, but Unity took it down and then puts it back up and takes it down and puts it back up. So I think the link we're going to give you this semester, because the Unity version seems to be down, is to one of the many people who've taken it and just basically uploaded Unity's own videos to their YouTube. But it's a wonderful tutorial. And the reason why it's a wonderful tutorial is that it very quickly gets you to understand what you're going to do a lot if you choose Unity as a game engine in this class. And that's write a lot of the scripts. Unity does have visual programming, and it requires the visual programming. And that's because Unity is sort of a hacked together game engine. Whenever Unity sees something it likes, for example, it basically took its tool called Shader Graph, which is how you use shaders visually. It's basically taken straight up from Unreal. And which I don't mind, because then I don't have to teach something for Unreal and teach something for Unity. It's the same thing. But Unity is a hodgepodge of things. It's the way Shader Graph is done is basically the way Unreal works. It's visual programming. But a lot of their stuff is little scripts, and then something else might be something they took from something else, which is completely different. And Unity is sort of a hacked together thing in that way. But it's a wonderful game engine, very powerful. But it's not really consistent. It's just sort of stitched together. This thing works this way. The particle system works this way. Shader Graph works this way. Shiner Lab works this way. The scripts work this way. It's not consistent the way Unreal is. Unreal, everything is a blueprint. And we'll go over what blueprints are soon in week 3. And the major thing to learn Unreal is to learn what visual programming is and what a blueprint is. Once you learn that for Unreal, well, then you sort of learned Unreal, because everything is a blueprint in Unreal. And just as a comment, I'll talk this about in a lot more detail, is Unreal is much easier to do like 3D open world games. And that's because Unreal is written for Fortnite. Tim Sweeney owns Epic and Unreal. He also owns Fortnite, and a lot of the big games are just using Unreal. The big open world games are using Unreal rather than their old engines, because, well, Unreal is a better engine than their engines. And then they don't have to maintain their own engine. They can just use Unreal, which is also open source. You can change the code if you wish, and contribute to the Unreal code if you wish, which a lot of the big game companies do. But Unreal does not, I don't think they literally do not care about phone games, because they had a flip-up thing once and basically abandoned it. But if you're going to do an open world style game, then Unreal is, people do make open world style games in Unity. It's a lot more work. And so if you're thinking of working for a large game company, a big one, who uses the, Fortnite or whatever, Fortnite literally uses Unreal. So then learning Unreal is a better idea. But most people do not own game engines. They own phones. There are way more people who own a phone. Like, everybody owns a phone. A very small percentage of the population actually owns a PlayStation. And so for these big, Fortnite open world game, things like that, they're popular, but they're not phone popular. And so Unity's focus is much more easy with Unity for like phone games, for 2D games. This is much better for 2D games. You can make 2D games, phone games in Unreal. It's just more work. And I literally do not think Unreal even cares about phone games. It's a functionality they have, but they clearly don't spend a lot of time on it. They spend a lot of time on open world 3D stuff. And it's amazing. Unity, not so much. You can do the open world 3D stuff, but it's a lot more work. But conversely, the 2D stuff, the phone game stuff, or just a 2D platform, is much more natural and simpler in Unity. But in this course, you are going to build this little rollerball thing. And then you're going to do some simple Unreal blueprints. So you understand not just me talking about how these things work, but how they actually work. And after you've actually used both systems, that's when you're going to choose your game engine. And then you're going to continue to use that game engine for the rest of the course. And once you learn a game engine, once you learn Unreal or Unity, learning the other one is much easier, much quicker. So that's it. I'm already at 10 minutes, and I don't want these things over 10 minutes. So good luck.